Hi, everyone. I'm Charlotte Siems, Emerald Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide, and this is our weekly Spark Call with our team. This is for Brenda Martin and Charlotte Siems teams, where we get together every week and just have different topics to inspire and encourage you. And tonight, my guest, Brenda, is at the grand opening and the dedication of the new company headquarters in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is very exciting. And I know we're going to hear lots about that. In fact, next week on the Spark Call, that'll probably be our topic. But while Brenda is gone, my guest tonight is Vicki Drobnis, and she is a Ruby ambassador. And I first of all wanted Vicki to share her health testimony because it's one of my favorites. And I'll tell you a little bit about, Vicki and I's relationship. We're both trainers for an exercise program for TTAP. So I had known Vicki for a long time. And it seemed like every time I saw her, every year she was sicker. and so she was actually on my chicken list, I would say, to talk to about Plexus, about becoming an ambassador. I don't know that I've ever told you that.
No, you didn't
But
tell me that.
I didn't talk to her because she had so many health issues and so many allergies and things. I was afraid that she would be allergic to Plexus, I guess. So now I'll let her take it up from there and tell how she actually got to start taking Plexus and what happened.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. Now I have feedback, so I'll do the best on this.
Yeah, you sound fine to me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm hearing myself. Okay. Maybe that helps. All right. Well, back in 2012, I guess it was, I started having some problems. I was exhausted all the time. I felt bad. And I didn't understand. I ate healthy. I was eating a vegan diet, which I thought was best for me, and just continued to have problems. Went to the doctor, found a doctor that would do testing that didn't require insurance. So we tested for adrenal issues, thyroid, and then food sensitivities. So whenever that popped up, not only was I in, I think, stage 4 adrenal exhaustion, I had low thyroid, and then I had 66 food sensitivities. And to that, I'm not talking about like all nuts. I'm talking about it was all nuts, but it was also lettuce and avocados and cherries and lemons. I mean, it was a wide variety of things. It was halibut, and I don't ever recall having eaten halibut, at least knowing that I had. So I just couldn't figure out what it was. But my doctor did know enough to say that if I had more than about 5 or 6 sensitivities, especially in a variety of food groups, that meant that I had what was called leaky gut. So I did a little research, and he said, you've got to cut out all these foods. That's your first thing. Well, I learned out about this at the 2012 TTAP retreat. That was where I got my results found on my phone. And I'm thinking, what the heck am I going to eat? Because Teresa does wonderful food. And I realized that at that point, the food hadn't killed me. So I would just go ahead and then I'd deal with it when I got back. So I started cutting out all those foods, which was a lot harder than I thought, because I would go to the Whole Foods bar. I'm a big Whole Foods fan. And I would go there, and they put the labels on the foods so you can tell what's in it. And I go through it, and I'd read, nope, can't do that. Go over and read, nope, can't do that. And I would just go along the buffet, and there was very little that I could have. And I remember getting teary-eyed at the Whole Foods. I mean, you get teary-eyed when you're getting ready to eat. And so I did end up losing about probably 10 pounds because of the inflammation that all these foods were causing. But unfortunately, that didn't solve the problem, because cutting out the foods are one thing. I do recommend that if people have leaky gut and they know there's certain foods that trigger it, as they start to heal, cut those out, because that's just going to reduce the inflammation that you're dealing with. But you've got to treat the underlying cause. And I didn't do that because my doctor just said, just remove the foods. So I substituted other foods and promptly got allergic to those. And then would substitute other foods and get allergic to those. To June of 2014, when I first heard of Plexus, I was down to about 5 foods that I could eat that I knew I wouldn't react. So that list of just cutting out 60 expanded exponentially. So Charlotte starts posting about Plexus. And I'd seen other people post about it, and I knew it was about weight loss. And my first thought is, girlfriend, why are you posting about Plexus? Because I knew your weight loss story from T-Tap, and I'm like, what are you doing about that? But Charlotte did post something about Lori Harrison's sister who had overcome a severe wheat allergy. So as I'm scrolling along on my phone and I see that, and then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what was that? So I messaged Charlotte and asked her about it. And she told me about Plexus and suggested I get started with a 3-day trial. So I thought, okay, I can do that. And even at that point, I wasn't really sure it was going to work for me because stevia was one of those things I was reacting to. So I started out half a stick. I mean, I started out really slowly. In the meantime, this is whenever I knew it was kind of a God thing. Well, I don't want to say kind of, it was a God thing, because I had seen that Charlotte was going to attend an online event that Lori Harrison was doing. And as I'm watching about that, I thought, oh, okay, Lori, that's the one she mentioned before. So I click on it, and Lori's going to be talking about, I think it was some ambassador training, but also about leaky gut. This was a private event. I was not supposed to even see this event invite or that Charlotte was attending it. I tuned in. It was a Ustream. You had to have a password. I didn't have that password, so I wasn't supposed to be able to see that either, but I was able to tune in to all 3 hours of it. And I took notes and I started researching. And then I realized what I was dealing with the candida. I had dealt with candida back 25 years ago when my daughter was born, and she had thrush, and we passed it back and forth while I was nursing her. And I remember in the books that I had seen something about candida caused food sensitivities, but it didn't do it for me at that point, so that part went out of my mind. After this, I dug up my books and I found it, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is where it's progressed, because I never had a yeast infection. I didn't have a yucky toenail or athlete's foot or rashes. It had all attacked my gut. So that's when I knew I was on the right track. And I joined simply to get the products at the best prices, because I had been laid off from a job that March, and this was June, and the severance was running out. So we were going to have to start budgeting a lot more. So I started with that. Within 3 weeks, I had lost 3 pounds, but 12 inches, which told me that was inflammation. So, and I'm starting to feel better. I'm having energy. My husband is noticing I'm feeling better. Then about 6 weeks after I got started, we went for my mother's 75th birthday party. And I was like, dare I try a piece of her 75th birthday cake? It was kind of like I wanted to, just because it was her 75th birthday. How often does that happen? And I did, and I had no reaction. So there's gluten, there's wheat, there's eggs, there's all these things I was sensitive to. Didn't have any reaction. That weekend, we went out to a restaurant. I tried some other things. Didn't have any reaction. So within 6 weeks, that is, I won't say that's typical, because some people will take longer, But remember that up to this point, I had been eating really super clean. So I don't think that I was having to overcome some severe detox. Anyway, so after that, you couldn't shut me up about Plexus. I started telling everybody. Uh, Charlotte and I went to the T-Tap retreat. We had a lot of people. We got to share our stories there, and we had a lot of people that got started, and I became silver. A couple of months after that, I became gold, and it just kept on growing. And to this day, I can eat whatever I choose to. I choose to eat healthy. I'm getting back into eating more vegetables just because I find I feel better that way. And I have energy. I have enthusiasm. I'm not depressed. I forgot to mention, I was dealing with panic attacks before this. I would be driving to work and all of a sudden had a panic attack. And even drove myself to the hospital one time, convinced that I was having a heart attack because I didn't know what else this was.
Well, and I even noticed a change in your personality because I thought you were nice, but well, you were really nice after Plexus. I mean, a real people person and very friendly and stuff. And it was just that you were just sick before, the years that I knew you. And I need to move along here because we've already, you only have about 5 more minutes, but
sure, go ahead, because that's pretty much it.
Okay, I want you to share 3 things you've done that helped grow your business to Ruby, because you started from zero. It's not like you had a big blog or a Facebook audience or whatever. You started from zero, and I want you just real quick share 3 things you've done that helped grow your business to Ruby.
Okay. One thing that I did was that I built relationships with people, because whenever I'd left that job and I'd left teaching a few years before that, I cut off some people because I just couldn't deal with it. I was overwhelmed. So in that case, I started building and rebuilding relationships. And this is a relationship business. And so I had to reestablish that trust with people. The other thing was that I became a product of the products. I have not missed a day in 19 months. I've stuck with it. I've even during the back office stuff when orders were delayed, I rationed out my ProBio 5 to make it last because I was not going to be without that. And then the other thing that I have done is I pour belief into my team. And I encourage them. I let them know I believe in them. I know they can do this, and I give them plenty of opportunities for personal growth. And because I believe that it's all up here. You tried to tell me that a while back, and it took a while to sink in. But it is true. And you've got to believe that you can do this, and you can.
Exactly. And I was just reminded of that tonight, talking about what we're saying to ourselves, that when we don't believe in ourselves and we might look at Jules and think that we're not enough. Well, we're forgetting who we are outside of Plexus, that we're moms and wives and we've done some awesome things in our lives, that we are great people, or we wouldn't be in this business if we didn't care and serve people. So if we will start remembering that we are enough, that God has brought us into this business, that and you can say to yourself, I am enough, that opens the channels for you to help people. When you're comparing, you shut yourself down because you think, I'm not as good as them. I'm not diamond yet. Well, when you stop that and you look instead at who can I help? How can I help my team? What can I do to serve other people? Then the rest of it's going to happen. But that opens you up when you think about why you're doing this and the people that you're serving and who you can help. So that's what we have for you tonight. It's didn't want to keep you too long, but thank you everyone who came live and those who will be watching the recording. And we'll see you next week on the Spark Call. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for coming, Vicki.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for asking me.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.